Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Mary Washington, pharmacist, singer, and the founder of Pharmtainment Productions, where holistic and functional wellness is met through music and entertainment. I am hosting a series called Music in Stressful Time, and music is a frontliner to COVID-19. Now, you may be wondering, what is a frontliner? Well, a frontliner is a person that you usually have a connection with and in regards to communication. But in this particular moment, we're using music as a tool that we will communicate with, that we will have a connection with as we are going through our stressful moments. And one of those moments are the coronavirus pandemic. Now, I have invited a very special guest. And before we get started with her, the information provided by Pharmtainment Productions is for informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice, a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or guarantee of an outcome. Well, this lovely individual that is here with me today is none other than Dr. Candice Williams. She is an anesthesiologist, coach, and mentor to pre-medical medical students and residents, and as well as a songwriter, keyboardist, and organist. And I welcome Dr. Candice Williams. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and I am happy to have you here today. Thank you for stopping by. And we're just going to jump right in. And I just would like to know, where does music begin for you?
Music started in my childhood. I remember sitting in church, listening to my uncle Matthew Burrell play the organ in a service. And I was 7 years old. And I sat there and listened. And I just felt this feeling that said, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to play like that one day. And at the time, I didn't feel as if I had the natural ability and talent like a lot of my family members do. They played more so by ear. They learned it. A lot of them didn't read music. So I asked my parents to take piano lessons. So that's how I got started on my piano music journey. I took them from about 7 to 11 and did the competitions and the recitals and all of those things. And then I kind of got sidetracked by playing basketball and other things. So I stopped playing music for a long time, pretty much all the way through high school, but I still loved it. I just didn't feel that I was really as talented in it. Mm-hmm. And when I went to UC Berkeley after that, and in college, I was looking for something to anchor myself and or remind me of home because it was such a different environment from home. Mm-hmm. And I knew that there was a gospel choir there. So I found out through the grapevine, like, oh, there's a gospel choir. So I had some friends there who were tied to my family. And one of my friends and mentors, his name is Jonathan DeCure. He's a pastor, a youth pastor, prolific guy, and a music producer. Just amazing. He took me under his wing and started teaching me how to play gospel piano in the practice rooms at UC Berkeley. He didn't have to. He just took me aside and said, our families go back. So my Uncle Matthew played for his father, for context. So that's how our families were tied. And so he taught me how to play. And he would get me little gigs at these churches, and I would play on Sundays to put myself through school. You know how you need extra money?
Yes.
And that's how I learned. So that's how the ear training side of me developed, is that I learned trial by fire. Literally, I have to sit in the service and someone would sing something congregational and I would have to learn how to play for them in whatever key. And that's how my musical landscape, it grew from being able to play only in a few keys to being able to play in all keys. Mm-hmm. And eventually I went back to reading music as well. So I shored that up with reading as well. But that's where it started. And I pretty much continued playing churches even through medical school. I remember in medical school, I played the West Coast Showtime at the Apollo with Steve Harvey. I was playing all these. I was playing actual gigs in medical school. Mm-hmm. And medical school was the point where I bought my first Hammond organ. I still have it. It's a Hammond A100. And my med school friends came over to my little 1-bedroom apartment And I didn't have a dining room table. I just had this organ and a Leslie cabinet and everything. And they're going, well, what is that? You know, and I said, oh, it's an organ. And they were like, well, what does it do? You know, and so
Wow.
I got on and started playing for them. And they were like, why are you in school? And I was like, it's just a long story. It's a long story. and really what really like blew their minds was when we played the talent show. Cause you know, like at the end, it was the first year talent show. And I have a colleague who's a dermatologist and she's amazing. She sung. Then I have another colleague who is a physical medicine and rehab pain doctor. I'm an anesthesiologist pain doctor. So he turned out to be physical medicine rehab pain doctor. Played bass. My husband played drums and it was myself. And so us four, we went out and did something probably like some Jill Scott tune or something like that. And my classmates were like, wow, you guys could like take this on the road. And we actually did. We ended up playing some more gigs after that while we were in med school, paid gigs. It was great. Residency shut it down, of course. You know how that is. Residency is where I could not play hardly anything. And that was a miserable time. We'll get into that. But once I finished residency, kids and all, actually I was pregnant during this time with my second child. I finally found my idol piano player. He's Russell Ferrante of the Yellow Jackets. 1980s, 90s fusion band. And I found him. I met him actually with my husband because my husband knows the drummer in the group. And I could pretty much only put together two sentences like, can you teach me? I was so nervous. Like, you are Russell Ferrante. Can you teach me? He was like, sure. Give me a call. So as soon as I finished residency, like the day I was done, I was like, doo-doo-doo. Hello, can I start lessons with you? And yes, I started studying with him off and on periodically over the years, and I still do. I go to him pretty much like quarterly when he's not out on tour between his teaching and all those things. And that really has helped get the reading music aspect back that I lost. He really has shored up the theory portion of my playing and teaching me how to learn jazz, which is another big interest of mine and pretty much what I'm moving to. And so now what's really crazy is that I'm trying to go back to school. I got a scholarship to one of the local JCs here to do jazz piano performance. So I'm supposed to start in the fall.
Wow.
And so it's all because of the people who've helped me along the way, but also my college. I neglected to mention my college, the choir professor, his name's Sylvester Carl Henderson at UC Berkeley. Those two wrote me letters of recommendation. So it's all because of them and John DeCure and a lot of people along the way who helped me musically, even though they knew me as a physician. They didn't discount my musicianship.
Gotcha.
Because of that.
That's a good thing to hear with that. That they didn't discount it, because that was one thing I was thinking of, since you are a physician and music never left your life. It's obviously it is a passion and it was something that was meant for you to do. It was a calling on you to do it, actually. That transition, I wanted to kind of just shed just a little light on it, because that is one thing I admired about you. The fact that you stepped out on faith to even re-enter, or I don't want to even say re-enter, but to pick up music and to say, this is what I am going to do right now. I just want you to shed a little light on that particular experience for you.
You know, quite honestly, when you live your life in a way that puts God first, and for me, Jesus Christ being my savior, I put God first. Sometimes the choices you make don't seem to make sense on the surface. And it took years of hearing the call and the whisper of God say, okay, Candice, I want you to do music. I mean, it was there. And that's where some of my discontent, a lot of my colleagues didn't understand, well, what's wrong with her? She's good at medicine. Why does she seem so, it was the angst of not obeying the call to do music. And so finally the call came, and it was one of those times where I was like, okay, Lord, okay, I hear you. And I was driving to work driving to work, and the Lord was like, I need you to take time off to write some songs. And I was like, but I don't have the money to take time off. I work fee for service. I don't understand how this is gonna work. Yes. And I was like, you have to trust me I provide for you.
He absolutely will.
You're gonna need to trust me on this one. And just a series of circumstances happened to let me know and to confirm that was the right direction to go. So from circumstances that happened to people who came and talked to me who were unrelated to what was going on, let me know, like, okay, I wasn't crazy. Like, this is the direction to go. And I hadn't written any songs before this, although that was what was in my heart to do. And so I took the time off. And in the first month, I had about 5 or 6 songs, which is a lot, just de novo, and then the next month it was 5 or 6 more. And I'm still, at this point, I still have about 10 songs done, and then about 5 to 6 other songs that are partially done.
Yeah.
But just taking that time to dedicate to music, period, not just songwriting, but improving my piano skills, just for me though, and feeling like I didn't have to do it just to make money. Because that's always the reason why we don't follow our dreams. It's like, well, how are we going to make money? How are we going to take care? I was thinking so much about my family, and I felt so trapped in what I was doing because I felt like, well, I have to be the breadwinner, and I have to do this and I have to do that. And God had his way of reminding me that he's my provider.
Exactly.
Not me.
Yes.
He's the provider, not me. Lord. And so that really, I had to finally just say yes to what he was asking me to do. And I think another factor in it was just that, I'm 41, but it's something about passing that 40 mark. Psychologically, it's like, okay, listen, this is getting serious, right? Life is happening.
Life is happening. And it's like, look, I need to pick up what I'm truly is to be on this earth doing. Can't just let time pass me by.
I got to get it together.
For be fulfilled in my calling or, my passion or
whatever. Well, see, here's the thing. People think that when you're in a service profession, like being an anesthesiologist, like being a pharmacist or a pain doctor, that's the pinnacle of serving. And that's aren't you called to be a doctor? Aren't you called to be this? Yes. And the answer is all yes. It's just that it's not always at the same time. That's what I had to realize is that. So I'm a person that believes that God speaks to me in prayer and through his word. I'm a person that believes that. So many years ago, this was already in the works. I prayed about these things when I was really uncertain, like as a pre-med student while I was in medical school. And I was at NIH, so National Institutes of Health, studying. And I prayed, and God was telling me about anesthesiology. Now, I had heard about it from other people, but I had not yet chosen for that to be my specialty. And I was really kind of confused. Like, is this what I should do? I don't know about this. There's a lot of call. There's overnights. I don't really know what I should do. And the thing I kept hearing is like, it's a means to an end, and it won't last forever. And I didn't know what that meant. It's a means to an end, and it won't last forever. It's to get you to a certain place. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do it. God, if you're saying to do it, I'm going to do it. It's to get you to a certain place. And now this, so many years later, I'm like, oh, because I know for a fact that my journey in medicine and that certain things had to happen to me in order for my heart to be in a certain place, to be able to write songs, for my heart to be in a certain place, to be able to make music. Sometimes you have to live a little. If that makes any sense.
Yes. Oh, it definitely does.
Have some trials. Have some trials and tribulations, right?
Yes.
And so now I understand that, God is sovereign. He knows everything. He sees the future in ways that we don't. And so now these pieces are starting to come together and make a little bit of sense. And I'm so grateful. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm grateful that even though, I'm about being transparent. Even though I jumped off of this cliff with no safety net financially or what have you, that my family hasn't missed a meal. right? And that we have a support system
Mm-hmm.
that is
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. It makes you grateful for your family, your friends.
Mm-hmm.
We've had people send us money. Just,
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Mm-hmm.
about you here without us telling them anything. So,
Mm.
so it's one of those things of really having to trust and put your trust 100% in God. And that in and of itself has been the big lesson for me in growing my personal faith. Cause I thought I was really doing something, believing God to go through anesthesia residency. Cause that is a lot. I mean, there's a lot, not only
And that's a huge
responsibility, but
sacrifice.
you're doing things that are scary.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one level of faith, but it took a whole nother measure of faith to like leave that behind,
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
that, not knowing what would be in the future. And so
Mm-hmm.
all of it has caused personal growth and transformation in a way that just I feel that has enriched my life. And I wouldn't trade any of it. The medical
Right.
training, the waiting to do music, any of those things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a cry in my heart since I was 7. And so at a certain point I had to say, okay, well, God, I
Wow.
trust you with my gifts and do with it what you will. And
Exactly.
that's where I'm at this point.
Okay. And see, and I can relate to all of that myself because as we were speaking before, with my journey, it was more so like you were saying, the personal
Mm-hmm.
growth. But at the same time, it was like a sacrifice. I'm worried about the
Mm-hmm.
family. Okay, I need to make the money. Where's my next meal gonna come from? We got to pay the
Mm-hmm.
bills. So pharmacy is going to pay for it, and that's the route
Mm-hmm.
that I went. Music, I may not make as much money, or whatever the case may be. I have a lot of reasons, and that is one thing that I thank God for intervening in my life regarding the circumstance that I had to experience at that time to
Mm-hmm.
push me over to do what has already been laid out for me to do.
That's right.
Music, it started as a childhood for me to now it never left. As I say, I tuck it under the pillow so I can just do what I needed to do in the moment, which was go
Mm-hmm.
to work at a pharmacy retail store or wherever the
Mm-hmm.
case may be, in order just to get the check and move on. But what it is it about Mary? What does she really and truly need? What's going to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill her life? What's going to
Mm-hmm.
make her happy? And when I made that transition, pretty much my what's next moment, which is singing and music, um, I found that music, it has a very personal impact on my life
Mm-hmm.
because I take it from the point of view, it is a healing journey for me.
That's right.
So certain music that I listen to, it uplifts my mood. It gives me the courage to move on throughout my day, also inspire me to write about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the aspects I would say how music impacts me. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to know, how does music, or how has music impacted your life?
Very similarly, most of the time during my training and early attending years, I was playing music mainly in the church setting, which is both for me a worship experience and an expression, but also a way to really let off any steam from what was
Uh-huh.
happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I transitioned to writing and some of the other consulting things that I'm doing and stepped out of the clinical space, then it started to become more of an extension of myself and an expression. And it feels good to be able to express yourself and to
Mm-hmm.
learn more skill wise to be able to express yourself more and more. It just
Mm-hmm.
opens up the door for that. In terms of the psychological impact and the healing impact, music has always been just very soothing for me, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also been something that I feel very strongly emotionally. Like
Mm-hmm.
music tends to have a very strong emotional impact on
Mm.
me, and I always wonder why that was, but it touches my heart in a way. Like, I'm a person who can listen to something and weep, right? It touches my heart in a way where it I would always wonder,
Relate to that.
like
Okay.
why is this hitting me this way? I don't
Yep.
understand. And it's that part of the emotional
Mm-hmm.
connection and empathy that I try to bring when I make music. If that makes any sense, when I'm producing something, I
Mm-hmm.
try to
Mm-hmm.
infuse that aspect to take people. I want people to feel something emotionally when they hear my music.
Right.
And so it's just learning how to tap into those things and to accept that part about myself. I thought I was weird. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I weeping because of this chord? Why is this chord making me cry?
No, you're not weird at all with that.
I thought I was strange.
Because I'm certain not just you, and of course I'm in the same boat as you when it comes to certain music or chords or that emotional connection you have there. Oh no. And I'm certain there's other musicians that are out there that can relate to this. If you do, let us know.
I listened to Kurt Elling. He's a vocalist, and he had a live performance, and I was expecting at the time, I think that has something to do with it. And his pianist played something. Listen, I like booed. I was like, oh no. My husband was like, are you okay? Can't collect myself.
Okay. Let me just have my moment.
Let me just have my time. And then what's really funny is that once they got to things that were faster, because they had a straight ahead jazz segment. My baby was about 8 months. I was along, and when I say it was to the point where she was leaping so much with the music, and I knew it was the music because it was during a piano solo. Yeah, and you could see my stomach moving, and as soon as it stopped, she stopped.
Oh, wow.
And her name's Melody, by the way. Oh. And she sings and everything. She's 3.
Hello, Melody.
She was feeling it. We were both feeling it. I was like, oh, that riff. And she was like, just pushing. Yeah, so.
Yes. My thing, when you're saying all of this, of course, with the times that we're in now are stressful, and how music can have that impact. It can have us escape from the moment. We have our emotional connections with it. And of course, I say, even though we're going through this shut-ins, I mean, at this moment, certain states has lifted it. I'm laughing because I'm in the state of Georgia, but anyways, we want to just keep in mind that music can provide that escape for anyone to just take a moment to look over your life, to be thankful, grateful.
Yes.
Hey, we're gonna make it. We're gonna get through all of this. That's and right. It's funny you saying with the whole emotional ordeal. I posted a video with this particular song playing in the background. I'm gonna say it because I was crying because it touched my heart. It's called "People" by Jonathan McReynolds. I don't know if you heard that song, but if you listen to the lyrics and the chords and stuff, it makes you think about. It made me thought about over my life and the people I have the connections with, and what's going on now, and how we have to look after our neighbors and talk to them. And this is one of those moments you reach out to your neighbors and see how you're going. I stay, particularly with one across the street that's elderly, and be like, you need anything? If I'm going out here to run to the store, I'm gonna get it for you. But it's absolutely just one of those songs that really opens up my mind, and of course it speaks to me, and it causes me to be emotional. So I would like to know what song or songs, if you have many, that is something that you're relating to, maybe represent your moment, your life.
I thought about this, I've been thinking about this for a while because I love songs from all genres. But believe it or not, it's kind of funny. The song that is really, I laugh already, is "Living on a Prayer." Okay. That's my song. Okay. I mean, listen, I'm laughing with you, but I'm a fan of rock. You know what I mean? Like "Living on a Prayer." That was the song. I also did a tribute to first responders with some other female doctor musicians in a compilation, and the song that I chose to present was "Fragile" by Sting, and I that song really does resonate with me. I love the chords in that song. I love Sting.
Yeah, I have to listen to that. I'm writing it down.
And what's interesting is that for Christian and gospel music, which is what I play 99% of the time, I don't really have a particular song, but what I will say is that the songs, from your childhood, right? That's what stick with you. And my father's deceased, God rest his soul. My father was really into the Winans. So anything by, so Marvin Winans is like my favorite. male vocals. Like
Mm-hmm.
he is it. Okay, Layla Hathaway is my favorite
Mm.
female vocalist, along
Mm-hmm.
with LaShawn Burrell, which is my
Mm-hmm.
cousin.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably gonna
Mm-hmm.
kill me for naming her on here. She
Oh.
is my other favorite female vocalist. So
Mm-hmm.
um I more so listen to music, with a pretty wide scope, except for like death metal. You won't catch me listening to that. Y'all
Today.
even
Okay.
listen to the country and bluegrass and all that, but I don't really necessarily have a whole lot of specific songs.
Yeah, and sometimes it depends. Like I say, we all have like a connection to music, but our
Mm-hmm.
connection is different. It's variant, and sometimes it comes to a vibrational connection. So we
Mm-hmm.
relate to what the tone of the music is. It like you said, it's not the dark metal or the country music.
Mm-hmm.
Country music tells stories, but sometimes
Yeah.
it may not. The lyrics you could probably relate to and paint the picture, but the
Mm-hmm.
actual vibrations that is coming from the song itself is just not resonating.
Right.
Versus something that it just it's. I think what I'm trying to explain is that connection is a vibrational connection to music
I agree
that
with you.
is
I think that
untold,
there's
unexplained.
correct. I think that music is definitely a universal language, and so
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about the frequencies and
Mm-hmm.
or I just say more so, I call it more so an atmosphere that each song sets
Mm-hmm.
up,
Yeah, that's
right?
true. That is
Sometimes
true.
it'll take you to a place where you're like, oh, I like this place.
Mm-hmm.
The song's taking me, I don't
Yes.
really like this. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
other places it's like, oh, that really resonates with me right now. And sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
can change from day to day, minute to minute. I'm very
Yep.
sensitive in that. Sometimes I don't feel like listening to something sad, because if I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to feel sad, I'm not going to listen
Mm-hmm.
to something that kind of paints that picture where it's okay, I
Mm-hmm.
need something upbeat, and then I'll have my stuff that's more upbeat, excuse me, or things
Right.
that I want to remind me of home, or sometimes I want to listen to hymns. I mean, it can
Mm-hmm.
be, it can range. It depends on my mood
Yes.
heavily. But you're right. There's music sets up certain vibrations, and I think it just also creates an atmosphere. Um, and that's the part when I was saying I felt weird. I didn't understand why, like when I made music, when I would play with a band, like let's say I'm playing
Mm-hmm.
keyboards and there's drummers, bass, and we're all playing music together and we're having a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, there is a level of joy and or flow and I can't articulate that is like unparalleled. When you're part
Mm-hmm.
of something like that, it's not the same as being a passive listener.
Mm-hmm.
When you're
Yeah.
making the music, it would just
Mm-hmm.
take me to a different place. Like, wow. And usually
Mm-hmm.
for me, that setting, I play outside of church, but most of it has been in church. But yeah, there's something about that, whether people call it vibe or whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it,
Mm-hmm.
that is unparalleled. And I realized that part was missing in my life for a long
Mm-hmm.
time, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful to have it back. And we do it here. Learning how to do these videos and all this stuff is so hard because everything's virtual now. But
Oh yes.
we had
Uh-huh.
a video here. All my kids participated. We
Uh-huh.
jammed. They were in it. We had some other
Mm-hmm.
videos where we just made them, like I played and I would play all the parts and video myself doing that. My husband would play drums, and we like made some compilation videos.
Uh-huh.
So ever since our quarantine is not lifted, but
Mm-hmm.
people are, I'm in
Yeah.
California, so people are taking some liberties.
Mm-hmm.
We really haven't. We've done what we had to do. As a music producer, I'm working with some friends and some different artists, and
Mm-hmm.
we send our tracks back and forth.
Right.
Yeah, we do what we have to do
And that's
for it
that
to
you
be
do what you have to
virtual.
do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the pretty much the best thing because of of course doing it on Zoom, we have that lag um thing that interferes with us. But I would like to say um let's say okay, no, here it is. The atmosphere that you were speaking about, music is a universal language to it's a universal language.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have our own variant connection with it. And of course, well, Dr. Williams, I'm going to say thank you for joining me today.
Mm-hmm.
And for you all, one of the points, that's what I was trying to explain. One of the points that she mentioned was that, you have to create the atmosphere. Allow music, just a moment. I don't care if it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes of your life, 30 minutes, and just set aside that time, turn on some music, and allow yourself to make that connection with it. And you create the atmosphere that is needed for you to get through these moments or get through your particular situation, whatever that may be. And I know we all are pretty much, most of us are still abiding by the shut-ins across the country, and willing to want to get out and mingle and connect with other people, but we're staying in for our safety and our wellness. So thank you, Dr. Candice, for
Thank
coming through.
you.
And you will find more videos like this at Pharmtainment Productions on Facebook. And I'll be posting on LinkedIn. And if you like, you can actually catch these videos on YouTube, Pharmtainment Productions. Until next time.